are Mayor Keith Hedrick, Deputy Mayor Lawrence Garish, Councilors Jill Russ, Jamal Beckford, Stephen Sheffield, Finance Director Ron Newhouse, Clerk Deborah Patrick. Excused are Councilors Guinevere Depot and Rashad Carter.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the first thing we will do is 690, city budget presentation. The first presentation we have on our list is sanitation. It starts on page 76. Where's Tim? Tim?
We're proposing a budget this year, $1,048,836. It's up 6.81% this year. And the majority of that is, I put in for $50,000 toward the purchase of a new sanitation truck. It'll take me 4 years to get enough money to buy that truck, but I'll start somewhere.
In Tim's budget, as in all of the other ones, there's also the other big increase in here is the benefits from the employee standpoint, which we're seeing globally. So those are the two big changes in Tim's budget as far as the increase.
Mayor Hedrick.
Councilor Rusk.
Couple questions. Page 78, under recycling. Tim, you and I actually had a conversation about recycling. How is that going to work? I know that the prices keep going up. Can we kind of just talk through that, and is this going to be enough money for recycling?
Well, we have increased it some, and yes, it's going way up. From a year ago or a year and a half ago, we were paying $5 a ton. We're up to $40 a ton now to get rid of recyclables.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as I know, no one is getting paid anymore. That's long gone. So that is some concern in the future. I think it's stable right now at 40.
Okay. And maybe that's something that we can work on this next year in educating the public on what can be recycled, what can't be recycled, so that what we're bringing is not garbage. Because I know a lot of things can't be recycled that we as the general public assumed we could recycle. So hopefully we can work on that this next year. My other question is about bulky waste. We've budgeted $10,000 for the last 2 years to come in. I'm assuming that's what that is?
Yes.
And we're only making, like last year we made $3,520.
That's right. That's an estimate for this year.
Okay.
With the blight officer, he's been very helpful with us, cracking down.
Mm-hmm.
And I know in the last month and a half alone, we've brought in a lot more revenue.
Okay. I guess my general question to that is going to be, is it worth doing? Charging for bulky waste? And I don't know if now is the time to ask the question, but I'm going to ask it now. Is the revenue that we're getting in worth the headache of having to deal with having people pay, the concern that people have of not being able to pay it and therefore keeping their bulky wastes and it becoming blight, and you know, I don't know.
So is your question?
I've gotten a lot of concerns recently about the fact that people have to pay for bulky waste, and I look at $3,520, and I don't know that that's worth doing bulky waste, charging for bulky waste.
There was, when we looked at for the subcommittee, there was quite a bit of savings in the bulky waste expenditure piece of it.
Okay,
So we'd have to take that into account and relook at that to
Okay.
really do a comparison as far as what the savings were. Because
So-
it's not just the cost of it, there's also the savings on the expenditure side.
okay, so this is profit, the 3,000?
That is the charges for the pickup of bulky waste. I wouldn't say
Okay.
profit,
Okay,
that's the revenue side.
that's the revenue side, okay.
Right, so if you look at 18, it was the 5,246.
I'm sorry, one more time?
If you look over all the way to the left,
Mm-hmm,
in 2018, it was 5,246.
right,
So this was just based on the estimate, kind of taking June or December's number and doubling it.
okay. Okay. Flipping page to page 79. Full-time employees seems to be going down considerably from what the estimate is from this year to next year. Are we losing an employee? And then on the flip side of that, part-time employees up considerably. Not from what was budgeted last year, but what you're looking at as an estimate. You've got $15,706 as an estimate for part-time employees, and the proposed budget is still 38. And
Yeah, I plan on using them most of this summer for sanitation and recycling.
That's the seasonal employees.
sure, is that different than last year, though?
We had 2 last year.
We had a hard time getting them right from the hiring
We had a
standpoint.
real hard time getting people.
Is the proposal to have 2 or 3 this summer?
3.
3, okay.
They can only work 120 days, so to try to rotate and get another 3 in is,
Okay. Thank you. I would love to get more information on the bulky waste, though, eventually. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this? I will tell you that in the last couple of days, last week or so, I started to look at the recycling, the bulky waste and waste in general. So one of the things that we're gonna look at again is, we're gonna look at waste in general. We're gonna look at the once a week, 2 a week. I know that's already been to committee, and we've looked at that a little bit, but one of the things that I'll be doing with the new council is once, I am going to be made aware of some areas that are not pristine, for lack of a better term. And we are going to monitor and look, and I will take, once I've seen it, I will then get the council to take a field trip, and we will go see it. And then based on that, we will then refer something to the Public Works Committee to talk about bulky waste, recycle, and waste in general. In addition to that, recycling, we are going to do an educational component. I'm not sure yet what that means. I don't know if I'm gonna go, if we're gonna go on a CPTV kind of thing, or if we're gonna do something here at a Cal, or if we're gonna do something on Facebook. But we're gonna talk specifically about what you can and what you cannot recycle. In addition to that, tying this with the sewer, we're gonna talk about what you can and you cannot just flush. Just because when you pull the handle it goes down, doesn't mean that it's proper flushable. And we're gonna re-educate that. I'm thinking about maybe even having something quarterly to keep it up in people's minds. But I haven't decided yet on how we're gonna do that. But there is gonna be some increased awareness on this next year. Anything else on sanitation budget? Okay, that's it. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
So go ahead and stay there, because the next item is building maintenance, and that's on page 86.
We are proposing a budget of 175,581 this year. That's minus 2.57%. You'll see there's minor changes in the benefits, insurance, life insurance.
Counselor Rusk.
Thank you. Page 89, under operating expenses, general material and supplies is going up from 19,544 to $40,000. Is there anything specific that's for?
With that, we actually combined two accounts there. We took the facility material and supply and general material and supply. There was some
Okay.
confusion where things were being coded, so it just made sense to just create one material and supply line, which is why it's up to 40.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on building maintenance? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Tim. The next one will be fire. It's on page 61. Chief, if you could come up.
All right, so for next year, we're proposing a budget of $3,214,637. That's a 4.84% increase. As you probably noticed, there is a $100,000 increase in contractual services. So, without that, it's about a 1.6% increase. Contractual services are used for lawyer fees, so we're currently negotiating, so that's why we kept it at 20. If we're not in a negotiating year, we usually drop it down. And we added $100,000 in anticipation of contracting out to do plan review on some fire marshal work we have to do, and also inspection services. So we got some estimates on what that would cost, and that's why that line item is so large this year. We anticipate, though, hopefully being able to maybe encumber that over the next couple of years. Some will be used when we do the plan review, obviously in a lump sum, but the inspection services, we might be able to, that's over a longer period. But we put it in this year's budget because it's really an unknown.
We had talked to the council about the increase in revenue and the increase in expenses this year overall due to the projected building at Electric Boat. So the $100,000 for the fire inspection, there's not going to be that much up front. There's still some plan reviews that are going to be required. But as we go further into this, we'll see the fire budgets probably go up a little more. But we do have the revenues for that. But that's why we have $100,000 this year for plan reviews and any inspections that may be required in 2020. Councilor Rusk.
Thank you. Page 64, your overtime budget is $340,000.
Yes.
Where does it justify, at what point does it justify just hiring somebody in addition? Because $340,000 is a lot in overtime.
It is a lot, and I'll look at that for you.
Okay.
I would love to have 3 new people, but.
Well, I mean, that would pay for 3 new people, you know?
Yeah, but there's still going to be overtime.
Okay.
It wouldn't take the overtime away, because there's vacation and there's contractual obligations to how many people have to be on duty at a time. So you still have to cover them no matter how many people are off, and so there's a lot of variables there. But it's certainly something I could look into and try and, get a number.
Right,
where that
I mean,
would
I
be.
guess, I'm not saying that's horrible, I would love to know where the median point is, like, where does it become more beneficial to hire somebody versus just pay the overtime?
Right.
And other than that, is selling back time off something the city does across the board or just for the fire department?
What,
I'm sorry, 64 under personnel services, last
Is the
line.
last line.
Yeah, so, I'm just trying, there's a couple things that that is holiday. So obviously firefighters were manned always, so instead of having time off for holidays, they're paid their holidays.
Okay,
So that's a contractual and it's a set number, and that's why it fluctuated some there, because it's based on their hourly rate, and we'll have 2 new firefighters, it goes down a little.
perfect,
But
thank you.
yeah, that's how they handle that.
Thank you.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Garrett, you had a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the overtime. A few years ago, when we increased the number of paid firefighters on duty, there was a big study done on it, and it was decided that it was necessary and important that there be that extra firefighter on duty. I happened to be on the committee at that time, and we met with the union, and we met with the management of fire service, and agreed that person was necessary, and we talked about how would be the best way to pay for it, and we had chosen the overtime method, and there was a huge savings by doing it that way, as opposed to hiring new people, which would include all the benefits and everything that goes with that. So that might, I know you weren't here back then, but that would probably account for a lot of that overtime that is mandatory.
As big as the number seems, and it is a large number, yeah, Councilor Garish is correct. By the time you pay salary, all the benefits
Right.
that go with it, training, we have to now clothe them with protective equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And then you continue to have overtime because you have to fill the positions if somebody's sick, on vacation, things like that. So there's still going to be, that number isn't going to go down to 0 or close to 0. It's just the
Right.
nature of the, police and fire in general.
Thank you.
Any other, Councilor Sheffield?
Yes, Chief. The medical insurance is going up as well from last year, I guess around 70,000. Is that a concern that it'll
Well,
continue?
That's not controlled by, obviously, that's an overall thing that's going up, but 36,000 of that is for long-term disability. We had somebody who recently left the department and is on long-term disability, so that $36,000, since we're self-insured, was put in the budget there, because we don't really have a spot, so that's part of the reason it went up such a big jump.
Anything else on fire? Okay, that's it. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, we will go to the next line item, which is 742. Ms. Groton Utilities, the first one is the Convault above-ground tank for the PAF. You guys have this information?
Mayor, there was packets that were put.
Okay, this should be packets that were at your desk. This is 19-4-63. Okay. Right, this is your
Okay.
show.
It's my show. Okay, thank you. Good evening. Down at the sewer treatment plant, we have a 3,000-gallon underground fiberglass fuel tank that has met its end of life, 30 years. DEP came down and looked at it and red tagged it, which means we can't fill it anymore. And the reasons for it is we don't have a plan to take it out, and it has to be out by May 1st. We didn't have a plan. Our overflow protection wasn't in there. There's a new nozzle that you have to put inside the tank. We didn't do that. And also the monitoring system was down. So they red tagged it, and gave us a notice of violation. I went up to the meeting, DEP, Wednesday, talked to them about it, gave them our schedule, which is in your packet. They gave us a settlement agreement, so we are working on this right now. We have a service station giving us a price, which I did get Friday night. I sent it out today, but I don't know if it's in the packet, or it might be the old one. It's about $90,000. Yeah, $300 for that. There's another one. Yeah.
Before that page.
Yeah, that one there was. So they came down today, and also they had to do a tightness test before end of life tightness test. They were doing it when I left tonight, so I didn't get the results of that. So I should get that tomorrow, and we also, depending on how fast we can remove it, we will have to get somebody to do the Class A/B operators, which is, they come down to check the tank every month. Ours, we had guys at the water plant, but we pulled all our tanks, and their license was up in 2018. And the city had Dave, and his license was up too, so we'll probably have to hire somebody for that. There's people around that do that. I think the city has one on staff that they use, so that's what we're looking for now. So our plan is, I gave you a plan to put this new above-ground tank next to the generator. This tank basically feeds the generator. It's gonna be above-ground tank with a concrete support sitting on it and hurricane straps. I went to the planner today, and I went to see Carlton for their look at approvals. So we're moving forward with that. Any questions?
Did the expiration date of this tank, did this sneak up on you, or?
No, it didn't sneak up. We've been asking for this for the last 3 years. Been in our budget,
Okay.
under the city's budget, and it was never placed. If you notice, the plan was done in 2017. We had a plan. We were hoping to use the leftover bond fund money from the plant, but did not get approved, so.
Was it not approved by the council, is what you're saying, or?
It never made, I don't think it ever made it.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, it was in our
I think so.
CIP, but it never got approved.
Yeah, I don't,
Never made it to the council.
Okay.
okay.
And if it was a question of bond fund money, if it was eligible or not, it would have had to actually go back to the Freeman for reauthorization.
Councilor Russ.
You mentioned the Class AB operators, that we don't have anybody on staff anymore.
Right.
Is that something that we could get somebody trained on? And is there a necessity for that in general? Like, would we use somebody more
I
than this?
think you pulled all your underground fuel tanks, and the utilities did too.
Okay,
So I don't think you need anybody
Okay.
else.
so it's only for underground tanks?
Underground tanks at above 2,100 gallons.
Okay,
Anything else, you don't, DEP does not get involved.
okay.
So the reason this is before you tonight is to discuss this I'm not treating this as emergent work. What we are doing is we're bringing it to you, and we are truncating the process, if you will, bringing it to you tonight under the special committee of the whole. so that Ray could brief you on it. And then if the council is comfortable, we can move it to the mayor and council meeting of tonight. Or if you're not comfortable, we can move it to a special council meeting of next week.
So what happens if we're in violation of this May 1st, get this thing out the ground date?
Well, we're not gonna meet May 1st, there's no way. If we say, because where are we now? We're in the middle of April.
Right. As long as I continue with the AB operator and we do the test that we had done tonight, as long as we keep that up and monitor the tank, we'll be fine. And we have to give them a plan. As part of the agreement, I have to keep in contact with DEP, tell them how we're moving forward. We gave them dates that we were looking to try to get done, so sooner the better, though.
But in no case can we use the tank after May 31st, correct?
Correct, yes.
I mean, it expires,
Yep.
meaning the expiration date of the tank, so it cannot be used after that.
Right, so we would like to lessen that gap as much as we can.
It's full right now. It has 3,000 gallons in it. So if we had a emergency of our generator can run 2.5 days on that fuel, there's a day tank in the generator building, so we could always fill it up by hand, but obviously we don't want to get into that. The other part of that tank heats the digester building, and right now we're burning gas. So, and the temperature gets warmer, so we'll be burning less gas. We won't burn fuel in the summer.
But the intent is to install the new tank, transfer the fuel from the old
Right.
tank to the new tank,
Right.
and then get the old tank out. That way you still have access to that fuel. Deputy Mayor Garish.
I was just gonna ask, how long would that take to make that transfer? How much time are you talking about?
Of the fuel or just of the whole
The whole
process?
project?
I haven't talked to Martin yet, but I'm probably looking at a good month, at least, yeah. As long as we have no spillage or anything like that, because you have to leave the soil open. But to get the other tank in, it's Convault, they have them already, so we can move that forward.
And
Just to let the council know, this is the plan, part of your packet.
so-
Sorry, Deputy Mayor
So
Garish.
if we talk about that tonight, that would probably expedite it happening.
If one of the challenges that I have is, and one of the things that I promised that the council is I would try to minimize the amount of things that I bring to a committee of the whole and then force you guys to vote on it that same night without giving you time to think about it. If this council is comfortable, then you can move it to the mayor and council meeting that's following this. Or if you're not comfortable, we can move it to a special council meeting, which will happen next week. Councilor Rusk.
How much does the AB operator cost? So if we're pushing this off, it's gonna cost us more money.
His cost was about $400 at the time.
$400.
About $400. I haven't got an exact price, but last time we charged us $400
And how often does that person have to come?
every month.
Okay.
I would make a motion if the rest of the council is comfortable that we move it to the meeting tonight.
We have a motion.
I'll second it because I don't think we have a choice but to move forward on this.
Okay, we
It's
have a
not like we
motion and a
can't.
second. Is there any further discussion on this line item? Carrie?
Do we
Councilor
have,
Sheffield?
are there any more tanks that are coming due to, for?
Yes, there's 2 more tanks that are underground that should be pulled, but we'll come to a normal, we'll have an agreement on that. After our budget, we should move forward with those, but
What is their status?
west side, both of them are, east slope will be out of date, and the west side has been, but it's a 1,500 gallon tank. So those two should be pulled.
Okay, so we have 2 tanks that we need to pull. That will be coming to you. Those are in the budget for next year?
Yes.
Or are we gonna try to move them before?
No, I would just wait to, but we have to make plans and stuff with those
Okay.
other two, so those are gonna be a little, this we had plans on already, so the other one's gonna take a little time to get.
If they get red tagged, our sense of urgency may change. Any other questions on this? We have a motion and a second to move this to the mayor and council meeting of April 15, 2019. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Thank you, Ray. The next one is Harris Computer System upgrades. Sue?
Evening.
Good evening.
I'm sitting way up.
You may need to move the, although you project well.
I project well?
Yes.
I think I need a drink of water before I project. Reason we're here tonight. Back in 2018, the IT department identified a number of different systems that we have that require a database and operating system version upgrade. We are in contact with all of the vendors that apply to this particular upgrade that's required. The upgrades are needed because the items are end of life, end of support. End of support means they no longer receive security patches, which is critical, obviously, for our operations. This particular item that we're bringing in front of you tonight is because of the timeline that's being provided to us by the vendor. They will not schedule the work until 90 days after a purchase order is issued. So we need to obtain a purchase order and contract through the statement of work in order to get the necessary work scheduled. And at this point, we are fast approaching the end of life, end of support date. So our reason to do it now is to have the opportunity to get into a contract with them and get the work scheduled prior to our expiration on the database and operating system. The particular system is our utility billing system, which I'm sure you all agree is critical to the operation of the utility. And because it is exposed to the internet with our customer portals, we need to keep it in a current and supported state.
Is there any question for Sue?
Nope.
Mhm. We've been in discussions with the vendor for months to get this accomplished. They are requiring that we do a version upgrade on the application as well, which has added to the complexity for us, but
Councilor Russ? Go ahead.
So is there any type of like data migration or anything that's required, or?
absolutely.
Okay.
There's a significant amount of work that needs to be done. Our IT operations group and our database administrator will be doing all of the heavy lifting for those items. The customer service department is also in step on this. They'll be doing all the application testing, acceptance testing, on a very tight window. We have a 20 business day window to complete our testing. So there will be quite a bit of work done by quite a few people in a very short period of time in order to accomplish this. But we are somewhat at the mercy of our vendor based on their schedule.
And so since there's going to be some sort of data migration, or is this the only type of path? I know that sometimes there are, you can migrate from one system to another, right? Sometimes the vendors like to, they want to lure somebody else over to their system. Was that available at all?
No, actually, this is our sole source vendor.
Okay.
We are deeply embedded with this vendor. They're not just our utility billing. They do interconnect for all of our outage management, all of our meter data management, and through our AMI system, we feed the meter read data out to our customer portals for the online bill pay. So it's a very tightly integrated component, and it would be very difficult for us to move to a different vendor or to migrate to a different platform at this point.
Gotcha.
Anything else?
No.
Any further questions? Okay, same thing, you can make a motion to move it to tonight's mayor and council meeting, or you could move it to next Monday's special mayor and council meeting that we would
I
have.
make a motion that we move it to tonight's meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you, sir.
There's no executive session. I'll take a motion for adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries unanimous.